Grand Rising. I want to talk to you today about Western values. But before we can discuss Western values, let's talk about the heinous history of this country against black people. I'm talking about the crack epidemic, mass incarceration, the destruction of black communities like Black Wall Street, and so on. That is just part of the history. That is something that you can look up and you will know what these people have done to us here in America. So just imagine the hatred, the venom that they have used against us. Just imagine that multiplied by 10 for other black people outside of America. This is what goes on every day. And they're going around the world preaching Western values. Western values are basically based on the destruction of black people in black countries around the world. There isn't a country in the world that is invaded by America where America didn't first identify the resources that they needed to conquer or steal from that country. I'm talking about the Congo, Haiti, Venezuela, the Sudan, you name it. They've already identified the resources that they needed in order for them to destabilize these countries, whether they're using gangs by arming young people to kill one another just like they do us here, or they can just murder or assassinate a president. That is what they do, because Western values is theft by deception. There is nothing good about their values. They have no value. You understand what I'm saying? So in order for us to educate ourselves against their system, we need to read. We need to learn about their tactics. We need to learn about their history. You understand? Basically, I'm tired of speaking about this, but those of you who have read these books already, you can testify to what I'm trying to do to open the eyes of black people. A Time for Revenge, parts 1 and 2. The Black Revolution, I wrote with the intention of educating you guys so that you can better understand the marginalization of black people, not just in America, but worldwide. This is what these people have done. They bet on us being ignorant. They bet on us not reading, not educating ourselves on their tactics. So when they preach Western values, you're also doing the same shit. You're preaching it along for them because they create a vision, a false vision for you that makes you believe that you need to be next to them in order for you to have any type of values. But look at the history of their values. It's racism, it's breeding black people, it's theft, it's rape, it's murder, it's everything that is devious because of their deviant nature in this world. So y'all need to wake up and understand this. Again, please pick up A Time for Revenge, parts 1 and 2, so that you can better educate yourself and learn their devious history as well as your history in this country too, so you can understand why black people in the state that they are, not just here, but around the world. Y'all wake up.
Grand Rising. There's a lesson to be learned about what's going on in Israel right now. Israel is actually supposed to be in the lion's den. But you know what's stronger than that? Is the divide and conquer mechanism that white supremacy has used to make sure they control every region of the world. Syria, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan. These are some of the countries that have been destroyed by America and their NATO allies. Still, none of them are coming to the aid of Palestine. Saudi Arabia has one of the strongest military in the Middle East. They're not standing together with Palestine, the Arab brethren, to destroy Israel. You understand what I'm saying? They allow white supremacy to plant a flag right in their backyard with Israel because they refuse to understand this divide and conquer mechanism also works against them. America has managed to divide Taiwanese from Chinese, South Korean from North Korean too, because this divide and conquer doesn't just work against black people. It works against the entire world. The white supremacists, they have NATO. They always come together when it's time for them to try to rule the world. And you have to understand their roots. They all came from the same place. We as black people need to understand we have the same roots. We're diverse as a people, but our roots lie in Africa. You understand? I'm in Trinidad right now. I feel right at home. It's the same thing when I travel to Haiti, when I travel to Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, and all these other countries in the Caribbean that I've been to. I always feel at home. I also feel at home when I'm in Africa, when I'm in Ghana, Uganda, South Africa, Rwanda, wherever I'm at in Africa, I always feel at home. But what we black people are not doing is come together to understand our strength. We're not recognizing how they've become so strong because white supremacy works cohesively. You understand what I'm saying? We have to develop the same thing. We have to strengthen ourselves so we don't allow them to divide us so they can conquer us. They don't have the numbers. We do. You understand what I'm saying? Let's embrace our diversity and our people, our roots. Let's become one so we can fight these motherfucking monsters. Wake up.
Grand Rising. You just watched a sample video of modern Western civilization. Today's February 1st. It's also the first day of black people's celebration of their history, a history that has been reduced to the shortest month of the year by their racist oppressors. And some of you have even limited your history to the U.S., slavery, and everything that happens in the United States without embracing your ancestors outside of America. You see, these racists, they embrace people like Alexander the Great, Napoleon, Christopher Columbus, and other barbarians who have claimed to conquer the world. They use these people to uplift themselves above you. But since they want to talk about Western civilization, let's discuss how uncivilized Western civilization has been. Western civilization is genocide. Western civilization is the raping of women. Western civilization is theft by design. Western civilization is exploiting other countries to build their first world. Western civilization is the killing of innocent children and women overseas. Western civilization is World War I and World War II. Western civilization is ignoring the homeless situation in America while financing a war in Ukraine and Israel. Western civilization is ignoring the plight of black people in America so they can serve their purpose overseas for black soldiers to die for American imperialism. Western civilization is forcing poverty upon a sector of society. Western civilization is basically America's goal to turn everyone who doesn't look like them to the wretched of the earth. Western civilization is fucking barbaric. Western civilization is mass incarceration. Western civilization is a violation of people's rights all over the world. Western civilization is uncivilized. Y'all need to understand that. If you want to learn more about their history and our history, please pick up copies of my books, A Time for Revenge, parts 1 and 2. A Time for Revenge, the Black Revolution, is going to open your eyes to who you are and who they are. That's why I wrote these books. Y'all have a good one. Grand Rising. No other group of people have learned to cope with terrorism better than black people. And it's not limited to America. It's all over the globe where black people can be found. In America, we live with these terrorists on a daily basis. We've been subjected to slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, the violations of our civil and human rights, the crack epidemic, injustices, you name it. They've put us through it. Still, we've never radicalized against them. They've expanded their terror to Haiti, the Congo, the Sudan, Somalia, and everywhere else that black people can be found. America has invaded 84 countries around the world illegally. America has engaged 191 countries out of 193 militarily. You understand what I'm saying? Still, we have not radicalized against the U.S. government as black people. They talk about Hezbollah, Hamas, and all these other groups in the Middle East, right? These groups were formed to stand up against white imperialism, white terrorism. That's why they were created. We have not stood up or radicalized ourselves against them since the 1960s with the Black Panther Party. You understand? 1/3 of the U.S. military is made up of black people. They've never united to radicalize against the U.S. government. You understand? We just accept it. We're not fighting back. At some point, we're going to have to wake up. At some point, we're going to have to accept these people for who they are. You understand what I'm saying? At some point, black people are going to have to unite. I wrote A Time for Revenge, The Black Revolution, parts 1 and 2, to get into your minds how these people think and what they have done to us and what they plan on doing to us. You understand what I'm saying? They're never going to stop until we put a stop to it. Period. They've expanded their terror to the point where Israel now can openly do whatever the fuck they want to Palestinians. Even after they were found guilty in a court of law, international court of law, for them to stop massacring Palestinians, they're still doing it. Who do you think are going to be the next victims? Wake up.
Grand Rising. Please understand that people's responsibility don't allow themselves to get hooked on drugs and alcohol because too many people are relying on you. You don't need religion for you to stay clean. It's called willpower. It's called personal responsibility to your children, your wife, your mom, your dad, and everybody else that looks to you because you're a responsible person. You have to understand the root of alcohol and drugs. That's what these people use to trade with the Africans in order to steal their resources, in order to enslave their people. So we don't have to join a religious cult to make sure that we stay clean. We know that drugs are not good for us. So why would you even want to start? Wake up.
Grand Rising. Unfortunately, too many black people have allowed America's racist educational system to become the barometer which is used to measure their intelligence. It's unfortunate because we don't know any better. First of all, let's start in 1816, right? When slavery first started in America. There were no colleges here. The first university wasn't founded until 1830, which is Harvard University, the oldest university in America. In addition, just because you're able to excel on a standardized test that these racists prepare with so many biases, it doesn't mean that you're intelligent. And if you fail these tests, it doesn't mean that you're not intelligent because of these biases. You understand what I'm saying? As a former high school teacher, I can tell you this much. All that we do as teachers is interpret textbooks. That's all that we do. So when a kid comes to school, if that kid has no interest in a subject, he may not excel in that subject. You understand what I'm saying?
And it all depends on how the teacher interprets the book. And when you go to college, it's the same bullshit. The professors are doing the same fucking thing. And after 4 years, right, these people have established a plan where they want to basically evaluate your intelligence based on how well you did in their interpretation of textbooks that are so fucking old, they're played out. So prior to Harvard and all these other universities, how were people's intelligence measured? You have to think about that. One of the main reasons why kids who are homeschooled do better than kids in public school is because the parents pay closer attention and they do a better job teaching their kids what they are learning. The oldest university in the world is Timbuktu University in Africa, right? What did they do when they went there? They burned the libraries. They burned the books. They stole that knowledge and took it with them to Europe. And now they're using that knowledge to make you feel inferior about yourself. Stop allowing that bullshit. You see, I have never framed my high school diploma. I have never framed my college degree. I don't need them shits on my wall to make me feel worthy. I'm not going to allow these motherfuckers to tell me what my value and my worth is to this world. Unfortunately, too many of us have allowed that to be the center of our accomplishment. We're better than that. We're smarter than that. If you want to be educated, read. If you want to be educated, travel, meet new people, new experiences. Because all these other things that you're doing, you're just listening to the interpretation of textbooks written by other people. Period. The gravest mistake that most black people make is to vote for highly educated black people. Most highly educated black people have spent more time learning in the white system, so they're more likely to serve white interests. We have to vote for black people who are solely doing things based on their love for black people, not people that are looking for our votes because they have to gain something. If we don't change that shit, we're not going to get anywhere. We have to vote for these people who love us.
Grand Rising. I know a lot of you are very forgiving when it comes to white liberals especially. A lot of y'all want to give more credit to white people than they deserve because for whatever reason, you think white people, especially the younger generation, are going to change things for the better, especially as it relates to black rights, the struggle and the battle against the system for equality for black people here. In the 1960s, they thought the same thing. Or the young white generation, they want to join our movement. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Everything should have changed by now. Nothing has changed. You understand what I'm saying? It's not as if white people don't understand their racial arrogance around the world against conquered people. You understand? It's not as if they don't understand white brutality around the world against conquered and subjugated people. We witness white genocide against everybody around the world. But yet we continue to say these young white people are going to change things. You have to understand that white worshiping has become a dichotomized exercise around the world. And white people want to make sure that these young white people are not willing to give up those privileges. Whether it's Marky Mark or Eminem that try to act like they're down for rap, they're down or whatever, when it comes to their white privilege, I promise you, they will not forego their white privilege to help you as a black person. So in essence, white hatred exists in perpetuity, meaning that myself, my children, my grandchildren will continue to fight for the same rights. White people have never given us anything for free in this country. We have had to fight to end slavery. We have had to fight to end Jim Crow. We have had to fight for civil rights. We have had to fight against police brutality. We have had to fight for everything. You understand what I'm saying? So they're not going to be willingly give you anything. And the only way for us to change that shit is to come together. I'm tired of talking about my book, A Time for Revenge, The Black Revolution. It's a revolution. You understand what I'm saying? In college, I was a Black Studies minor. The first book I ever read was by Zora Neale Hurston, Their Eyes Were Watching God. It was that book that convinced me that I need to delve into the Black struggle. I need to bring to light everything that we have faced. And I need to try to find a way to change things for us. Part 2 of this book is coming out next month. Until we understand that unity among Black people to fight for the same things around the world, we're not going to get anywhere. And you have to start reading, because they forced our ancestors, they prevented them from reading. Now that we have the right to read, we don't want to read. We want to be educated through 2-minute videos. You're not going to get your education in 2-minute videos unless you start traveling around the world. You start to read to understand white supremacy. We're never going to get out of our own way. Y'all need to wake the fuck up.
Grand Rising. Black folks, as a collective, we need to put more effort into making sure we're not empowering the wrong brands, the wrong people, and the wrong companies. We cannot afford to patronize businesses that can cripple us economically. I know some of y'all like to wear Jordan, but Michael Jordan only owns 3% of Nike, so you're not really supporting Jordan, you're supporting Nike. Please do me a favor. Go look at the list of brands and companies that are supporting Israel right now. We cannot afford to support rappers that they're going to use as puppets to further destroy the Black community. Those rappers who encourage our kids to do drugs, to get involved in criminal activities. We should not support these people, because the system is waiting for these people to become stars, and they use them to demoralize the Black community. Certain things we just can't afford to do. Good Black businesses need your support, but you should only support those who also support the Black community. You understand what I'm saying? I have to beg people to read my books. I know a lot of other Black businesses have to beg you for you to support them, and we're always finding flaws with them. You understand? We cannot afford to do that as Black people if we want to be empowered. Every time you spend money on Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and all these other brands that don't give a fuck about you or the Black community, you are empowering them financially. You're putting them in a position to do more to you, more damage to you when they want to. You understand? Now they're going after college, professors, college presidents, anybody that says the wrong thing about these people, because you've empowered them to the point where they can give hundreds of millions of dollars to these institutions. They're affecting you in a different way. You're empowering them, because it's all about money. If we can take our $1.3 trillion that we spend annually on us, on Black businesses, then they wouldn't be as powerful. But it's a habit that we have to develop. We have to be conscious of what's going on in the world as it relates to Black people. I'm tired of talking about it sometimes, but we need that. We need that constant reminder. We need that education, because they've indoctrinated us to think everything that they make easy for us also serves the best purpose for us. It's not true. These people, they want to be able to control us indefinitely. Only we have the power to change that. Let's fucking change it.
I know y'all tired of me speaking about the same shit, but I'm going to keep driving this home until it registers. Nobody promotes white supremacy more than Black people, okay? You want to live in a white neighborhood. You want your kids to have a white doctor. You want your family lawyer to be a white person, a Jewish person. You want a white accountant, and so on, without realizing some of the best trained doctors have been Black. Some of the best lawyers in this country, Black. Some of the best accountants, Black. Why do you think these NFL and NBA owners position white people to be next to these athletes once they sign their contracts? Because they understand that if they get a Black lawyer, if they get a Black doctor, a Black accountant, Black manager, they're going to excel. They're going to be like Rich Paul. You understand? That's why they do it. But while I'm here, I want to basically address my immigrant family as well, because you guys do such a great job promoting white supremacy in your own country without realizing that it is white supremacy that deprives you of the rights to be in your country. When you go home, you go and spend $3,000-$4,000 in a week, you're sending the wrong message to your countrymen, because you're telling them, oh, America is the land of milk and honey, and you can actually spend $3,000-$4,000 a week. You fucking know that you can't do that shit when you're in the States. You know that. You know it took you fucking 4 months to save that money. But when you go home, you want to stunt on your own people. You're promoting white supremacy without understanding it. You're promoting white supremacy without realizing that these racists, they go to your country, they destabilize your country, they steal your resources. They force your people into poverty so they can build their first world, and force you to come to their country so they can refer to you as a migrant worker. You understand? That's what they do. There isn't a first world country in the world that wasn't built on the back of black people or African resources, period. Whether slavery, gold, diamond, oil, they stole it from us. So please do me a favor. Stop promoting white supremacy. Start embracing your blackness and understand that we have done more to build this world than anybody. We have had more innovations in this world than anybody. Their civilization came from us. That is why I wrote A Time for Revenge, the Black Revolution, because you guys don't understand what it is to revolt against a system. The system is so well fucking oiled that you can't even fucking find loopholes to say, oh, we did this? This is why I do this on a daily fucking basis. I want to open your eyes. I want y'all to understand your value to this world. I want you to understand the history that we have provided in order for this world to function as it is today. But at the same time, we have to break the cycle that white supremacy has put in place to make us believe that being next to them is better. Being with them is better when they've stolen everything from us. Wake up.
Grand Rising. I was watching a video clip. I think it was Andrew Tate and some other idiot, right? They were talking about how they hate the term generational wealth. How black children, black people, shouldn't concentrate on generational wealth because their children should work just as hard as them to get whatever it is they want out of life. First of all, let's understand that black people as a whole, we have to work twice as hard to be successful in this world. We're not going to make it harder for our children. We're not going to squander the resources that we've worked so hard for without leaving behind a legacy for our children. You understand that? We have about 15 families worldwide controlling the entire world from slavery up to now because of generational wealth. White people believe in nepotism like no other group, which is one of the main reasons why they remain rich, wealthy, whatever the fuck you want to call it. You understand? While black people, out of selfishness, we want our kids to face the same struggles that we face. We want our kids to go out there and bust their ass just as much as we did when our job as parents is to establish a springboard, is to establish a better future for our kids. That is our fucking purpose. That is our job. Stop listening to these motherfuckers who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. As far as generational wealth, as far as leaving behind a legacy for your kids. We have a purpose in this life. And our purpose is to set the pathway for our children to remove all the obstacles and the adversities that we face to get to where we are. We're not going to let them duplicate the same struggles that we face as people. Generational wealth is important to the black community. Stop listening to these fucking idiots.
Grand Rising. If your goal as a college-educated black person is to better assimilate into white society,
then you're doing yourself a disservice as well as your community. Unfortunately, a lot of black people go to college so they can get better jobs with these white companies. And when they get with these white companies, it becomes self-serving. They don't care about their community anymore because now they're above the fray. They're educated, so they're better than the rest of the black people who aren't educated. And white people tend to reinforce this way of thinking. Education is about changing the world. Education is about making things better for the disadvantaged. Meaning you have this experience, now you're educated, you must change that situation for other people who don't have the same education as you or position as you. Unfortunately, we are very enamored by people who are highly educated, who came from the same community as us, especially if they have Ivy League education. That's how we ended up with Obama and Kamala Harris, because these people went to Stanford, Harvard, and these, other schools where we feel like they're not reachable for the general population. The gatekeepers are always highly educated because white people rely on the gatekeepers to control the rest of the population. And in turn, we're always pointing at one of our people to say, hey, we're being exploited by our own, without understanding there's a system in place. So as an educated black person, it is your duty to educate yourself, to understand that the system was designed to use you as an educated person against your own people. So it is your job to make sure you use your education in the most proper way that is fitting to uplift your community. Please stop being these fucking puppets and gatekeepers for white supremacy. If you want to be an educated slave, that is your prerogative. But please do not allow your gatekeeping position to force you to try to enslave your own people. Wake up.
Today is Dr. King's supposed holiday. So I have a dream our asses to death. That's the agenda. That's what the media is there to do, to keep black people hopeful and comatose at the same time. They're not going to show you the dream where Dr. King was talking about European peasants getting here and being handed free land, where this government created subsidies to make sure they get ahead in life, while telling black people to pull themselves by their bootstraps. They're not going to talk about Dr. King showing up in Washington, D.C. to collect the checks they owe to black people. Why? Because that's the speech that got him assassinated. He wasn't killed when he was shot. He was murdered at the hospital, suffocated at the order of the FBI because they needed him to be dead, because he was asking for black people to get reparations. You have to understand these fucking sinister people. Whenever the truth starts to come out, whenever black people start to open their eyes, they shut us down by killing one of our leaders. Please stay up. Wake up. I know I can't cover every topic and every cause on my page because of time constraints, right? However, a few people have urged me to talk about the mass grave that was discovered in Jackson, Mississippi, behind a jail. Let's get a better perspective on this. Over 500,000 people go missing in America every single year. That includes 194,000 black people, okay? To get an even better perspective on this, we can talk about the history of mass graves in America as it relates to black people. I'm sure by now most of you understand that Lake Lanier in Georgia used to be a black town. So there are mass graves under that lake because it's a man-made lake. You understand? And there are many other lakes in other black towns where mass graves have been found, especially in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But for this country and these people, these officials, to act cynical, as if they don't understand the possibility of finding bodies pretty much all over the country, because the 500,000 people missing, they went somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? And sometimes law enforcement have a role to play in it. We're going to act like we don't understand that this country has assassins working for the government. If they want to take somebody out, that person will be taken out. You understand? And where are you going to find the body? Either in a mass grave or chopped up somewhere. So we can't act surprised when this reality hits home for some of us. We have to be vigilant. We have to protect our own, because this government, your local officials, they're not going to protect your family. This is why I keep urging, especially black men and black women, to carry a gun if you can. If you live in one of these states where they don't have a law, they have an open carry law where you can just go and get a gun as long as you don't have a criminal record, do so, because at least you can protect yourself if somebody's trying to kidnap you. You can protect yourself if somebody's trying to hurt you. But when you don't have any line of defense, you're an easy prey. And a lot of y'all are walking out there, leaving your homes, may not make it back home because you refuse to acknowledge the fact that we live in a country that is sinister, and you have to protect yourself from sinister people. Wake up.